December is book month, and I'm fascinated by my colleague, Dr. Gerard Labuskaghni's books, The Profiler Diaries, #1, and the sequel we have here, #2. I will be interviewing Gerard at a later stage and talk more about his career and how he expanded our unit, but I'd like to focus on a particular segment in this book and the Riaan Stander investigation. In short, Riaan Stander killed 2 women in 2007, Riaan Ronganga and Tsolo Nkoyiya in Port Elizabeth, investigated by veteran detective Dion Hanekam. But what I'd like to highlight is the extraordinary work, in this case, of the auxiliary services, which do not often get the credit they deserve. It takes a team to bring a killer to justice. In this case, Inspector Philip Becker of the local Criminal Records Centre did an outstanding job beyond the call of duty. One of the victims was found at the bottom of the yard where the suspect lived, and Becker was summoned to the residence. Becker photographically documented the whole scene and took a video, writes Gerard. He noticed a plastic bag in the dustbin, and remembering that the bag was around Riaan's head, he wondered if they could be from the same roll. These particular plastic bags were of the type that come attached to each other, with perforations in between to allow the user to separate them, like individual sheets of toilet paper. Essentially, when the bags are made, the plastic is stretched out, which creates a certain pattern in the bag called striations. These are visible to the naked eye, especially if you hold the bag up to the light, and they are similar to the markings on a bullet, which is fired from a firearm. Becker collected the plastic bag from the dustbin and decided to have the 2 bags analyzed. Although nobody ever made such a comparison before in the SAPS Forensic Science Laboratory, he was sure that something could be done to compare them. Now, some forensic crime scene specialists spend only a few hours on a crime scene, but it took Becker 5 days, from the 18th till the 22nd of September, to collect 101 exhibits, and it took 916 photographs. Becker's intuition to take the plastic bag from the bin liner paid off. On the 14th of February, writes Gerard, 2008, I received a call from Hanekam to tell me that Superintendent Cornelia Berg had linked the bag around Riaan's head to the black bag in the dustbin in Standard's kitchen. Not only was it from the same roll, but the bag in the dustbin was the very next bag to be torn off from her roll, and her report confirmed this. Now, never before in South African forensic history had such a comparison ever been made. It took the case 3 years before the suspect Riaan Stander stood trial. During such a long period, evidence can get lost, but Becker's meticulous attention to detail and the hard work paid off. In May 2009, Riaan Stander was sentenced. So Gerard writes, Judge Chetty began to read out his sentence the next day. It would take up 4 typed pages. He began by complimenting the work of the investigating officer and the other SAPS members involved in the investigation. He said that the courts often justifiably criticize the work of the police, which at times results in guilty people walking free. On the other hand, he said, there are cases as the one in the current case, where the investigation and the way in which the police fulfilled their duties was such exemplary that the court shouldn't hesitate to call it commendable. That is such an example. And Gerard says he couldn't agree more. Hanekam, the crime scene team, and the forensic team back at the laboratory had done a great job, and I concur.